If there was still any doubt where the District Attorney of Los Angeles stood on the question of Lyle and Erik Menendez getting out of prison, tonight there's a whole lot less of that doubt. DA Nathan Hochman just announced his opposition today to one of the pathways to freedom for those two men, a resentencing, which is a process that would make them eligible for parole almost immediately. The DA basically said the brothers have told too many lies and not enough admissions over the years about what they did before, during, and after their parents' murders. But the DA did leave the door open, a little teeny tiny crack, by suggesting that if Erik and Lyle come clean on 16 specific quote-unquote lies he says they told, then his office might consider that resentencing bid once again. Family members of Erik and Lyle, who are also family members of Kitty and Jose Menendez, the victims, they were quick to criticize the DA for the position that he's taking. And I'm pleased to welcome Lyle and Erik's cousins, Tamara Goodell and Anamaria Baralt. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm sorry this is such a tough day for you. Like these tsunamis of news have to be really hard for you to process. Anamaria, let me start with you. The accusation is that the DA says Erik and Lyle have told 20 lies and only accounted for 4 of them, which leaves 16 lies uncorrected. And if only they would cop to these lies about the situation around that crime, then he would reconsider the resentencing. Tell me where you stand on that, and if that's a path forward or a non-starter.
Ashleigh, first of all, thank you for having us on today. I really appreciate you allowing our voices to be heard alongside of his. And the very first thing I want to do is correct an urban legend that he keeps repeating, which is that Lyle and Erik kneecapped Jose and Kitty. That did not happen. That is not the case. If you look at the crime scene photos, you'll see a wound on Jose's thigh. Both kneecaps are intact. So I'm not sure where he got that from, why he keeps repeating it. But just first off, that is not true. So the second thing I want to say is that it was made very clear to us when we met with the past administration's resentencing team that resentencing was about rehabilitation and life post-conviction. So this constant replaying of the original crime and this laundry list of quote-unquote lies that were addressed during cross-examination, I'm not sure why he thinks this is relevant. I really don't. That is not how it's explained to us. Those are questions, remorse, accountability, those are questions for the parole board. They are not for this. This is about rehabilitation and where the victim's family stands.
So I always think about the technical legalities of, these 3 pathways are all different. And they're still all in play, even though 2 of them are not looking as good. And that second one, which, was sort of dashed last week or the week before, was the habeas corpus petition for a brand new trial. That would be based on the original trial, the original defense, and the maintenance of the fact that they said it was self-defense. The DA says it wasn't self-defense because you've got to be in imminent danger. So is it necessary for Lyle and Erik to technically maintain that defense until that habeas thing is out and gone? In order to keep that second path alive, meaning they can't. They couldn't possibly do, even if they wanted to, they couldn't possibly admit to these 16 things because it will dash pathway number 2. Does that sound, I'm not sure if I'm being as good as I should be, but take a stab at that if you would, Tamara, and tell me if that's something that hamstrings the boys' attempts to even come into, satisfaction with the DA on the 16 requirements.
First of all, thank you. As Anamaria said, I really appreciate you giving us a voice. I'm really filled with emotion today, especially after Hochman's earlier press conference. So with all of that said, I'm just so disheartened by all of the same regurgitation of all of the same points from 1989 through 1996. Like, there is nothing new that he has said, and truly what this is evident of, at least in my mind, is that he is so focused on the past and he has not demonstrated any understanding of what their activities and their work has been since they have been incarcerated. As far as the habeas is concerned, We did not know of the letter until well after the conviction, and Roy Rosello wasn't about to come out and say anything in 1996. He was not in a place to do that. So we have those two pieces of evidence now, which allows, in what has been explained to me. Now, I'm not a lawyer of any sort, but has been explained to me that this is applicable. Both pieces are applicable. And when Andy wrote that letter or Andy received that letter, come on, you're 13, you're putting it away. And like Anamaria has said previously, you're picking up the phone at that point. You're not, I mean, do you think at 13 you really understand, especially in 1989, what the implications of that, something of that magnitude is going to be? So, with that, I'm really disheartened at a lack of understanding and the fact that Hochman feels this need to keep comparing this case to Sirhan. They are just different. They are on different levels altogether. So, I mean, enough with that. Truly, it's Erik and Lyle have their own case, and it has nothing to do. It's not comparing apples to apples.
It's definitely different, that's for sure. I mean, Sirhan did not even know the man that he was shooting, and he attempted to kill 5 other people, and they were unknown to him as well. I would be concerned about releasing someone who was that, unconnected to his victims. There seems to be a real connection, clearly, between Lyle and Erik and Jose and Kitty, obviously. Let me ask you this, Anamaria. Uncle Milton, that's Kitty's brother, died recently, which was the last holdout to supporting the release. So now there is not one family member who is alive who supports keeping Lyle and Erik in prison, which is huge, right? It is very unusual to have victims' family members all in support of releasing the killers. It's almost unheard of. Do you feel as though that has fallen on deaf ears? And I ask that mostly because I see just recently, I think even just today, you have filed a complaint with the Attorney General about the DA and said this is a Marsy's Law violation. The news conference today, we weren't informed of it as victims, and we have the right to be informed. We feel we've been, I think you said he's been hostile, Nathan Hochman, and patronizing and aggressive. Where does this go from here? Are you finished having conversations with the DA as the victims' family members? Because he's technically your lawyers, right? And our lawyers, too. Is that done? Is that, is that chasm unclosable?
Well, apparently, since he did not notify us ahead of time before he went and did this press conference, that is a violation of Marsy's Law. From what I understand, it was actually Tamara, who's with me today, who was the name on the complaint about the meeting that we had. As far as Milton is concerned, he was the last family member who was going to be actively fighting against the release of Lyle and Erik. And I think that should say something. It begs the question of whom exactly is District Attorney Hochman serving? Listen, the streets of Los Angeles are not safer tonight because Lyle and Erik Menendez are behind bars. That is a ridiculous thing to say. So for him to stand up and say that they're too dangerous because they haven't copped to lies that they told when they were very young and terrified about the consequences of their actions, which they have apologized up and down, left and right to everybody for. Who is he serving? They're not a danger. The victim's family, that's us. We're here today talking to you about how we want them out. He's not serving us. I don't understand. It is only his personal self-interest that he is serving right now, and that has been made clear.
Okay, well, we are not finished our conversation. Obviously, there's still one more pathway, and who knows what'll happen even if this March 20th hearing happens, because it's the court, it's not the DA that decides this. So, Tamara, Goodell, and Anamaria Baralt, thank you so much for tonight. I hope you'll come back when the next, development happens, and by my watch, that's like a week and a half. So until then, fingers crossed for you and your family and the peace that you all deserve. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.